and we want to ensure that that everybody has an understanding of what's going on and where we're at. These meetings are recorded, just so everybody is aware of that. We record these meetings, and then with that, I'll just get right into it. I know we we have a lot of ground to cover today, and I want to get through it all and give you an opportunity. If people do have questions or comments, please throw them in the chat. Angie will be monitoring the chat, and she will ask those questions, and we'll get them answered. So the agenda today is we have a release update from 11/24.
I apologize, Brad. That date is off. It's actually from last Thursday's release, which I believe was the 3rd, 12/3.
Yes, that's what I was wondering. It seems like it was the 3rd. We have some known issues, Q&A, and then some upcoming answer hour sessions. Kind of normal format we are, and then we're going to answer some questions here. So let's talk about the release update we had on last Thursday. So we had we fixed the duplicate entity creation with EDI transactions that was causing some issues for people where it was creating duplicate entities. Sure, UR sequencing issues have been addressed, and so now you can submit your FROI or SHROI URs. And as everybody knows, is the way that it works is you have a legacy claim, you submit your FROI UR, and then if you've already made your first action on that claim in the legacy system, you send in your SHROI UR. And then from there, that sets your sequencing going forward. We are seeing people coming in, doing a FROI UR, and then just sending in a payment, an IP or PY or something, and it's going through, but then all the benefits are not set, and you're going to have to sync up. So I would really recommend sending in those SHROI URs on all those transactions. The sync up process is a little time consuming and does require the department to send that out and allow that transaction, and you're going to have to get it synced up that way. So really think of it that your SHROI UR is your SU. The missing data element reference in EDI acknowledgements. So we fixed that. We are still seeing some of our error messaging going back as saying like it's a database error, and we're starting to collect those, and we're putting those in some feedback so that we can address all the database error messages and get them taken care of in one swoop. Errors with multiple instances of the same body part on FROI, and that's where it was just seeing that you obviously could have 2 left arm injuries or something, and it was erroring out as an error, and we fixed that now. And then the errors with the contact information provided on EDI transactions. And then the discontinuous web form processing is now working in campus. So if anybody wants to do a discontinuous web form, please do so. We'll give it a week or so to test them out and let everybody go in there, and then we will send out the official communication that everybody will be required. Let's go with the next one, Angie. Okay, so some known issues. We've had these AR data elements on our list for a long time, and the reason why is we know they're there. It's very complicated to make all these changes across every EDI transaction without possibly having downstream effects. We've seen in the past when we've done some of these small fixes to fix things that's had some pretty major effects. So we don't want to do these without having requirements. The team is pulling together to look to when we can actually do a full requirements release of some of these EDI things that will clean up these AR data elements and some of the other issues that are out there that touch sequencing and other things that could be very impactful. So that'll be a long lead time. We'll give notice, and then obviously we'll have to have a lot of testing on that. Issues with TPAs linking to claims in some instances. So we are slowly working on this. We took one of the cases we knew it was a problem, and we are going to push a fix on them in this Thursday. We're going to test it with them, And then if that works, we then are going to go fix all the other TPAs. But we want to make sure that this works, because this is a legacy data issue where you have multiple instances of TPAs with non-matching keys with claims associated, and that's causing a problem. So we need to make sure we have a way to clean them up and that give everybody access to those. So we are working on that right now. We're going to test it with one carrier or one TPA in particular on Friday. So once we've established it does work, we are then going to put forth a fix and have that done next week if it does indeed work. Company name rather than adjuster name listed on some generated documents. Something that's out there. Inactive claims showing as open. And then the ability to upload other filings on closed cases. Those are all things that we are looking at and addressing. Okay. Angie, do we have stuff coming through?
Yes, I have a number of questions in the chat. So the first one, in the past, we haven't filed for 00s when claim petitions were filed as the first notice of loss. Should we be filing these now that Shroy transactions are required? Also, if our attorney answers the claim petition with a denial, should we file the Shroy 04 for a denial as well? Finally, if the FROI is late as the employer never notified us, or maybe the employee never notified the employer, would there be a penalty for the filing?
Yeah, I can speak to the first two issues. Yes, you would want to file your FROI for anything that generated from litigation. And then, yes, you would want to file your SHROI denial if it was a denied claim. So that way EDI is there. As far as the penalty side, I don't know if CRT is on or if it's something we can take an action item on to research that in that particular scenario, but that's something the compliance folks would have.
Brad, this is Melissa. I'm on if you want me to.
Oh, hey, Melissa.
Hi. When it comes to the timelines and for late filing of the first report of injury, that is a penalty where we actually do have the statutory and rule authority to penalize the employer. So if the reason why it is late is because they did late notice to you, they have their 10 calendar days from the date, the first date of claim loss time, or the date they're aware of it, to notify you all, and then you all, of course, in turn have the 14 days total. That includes that 10 days. So if they're the ones that are late, as long as you are properly relaying that data on your filings to say that when it asks the date the employer was made aware, and then the date you're made aware, we're going to do the math and see that they're late, not you. So the penalty exposure would be theirs on the late filing of the first report.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, Melissa. One other thing to add on that, I know we mentioned that you should submit the FROI 00s when the claim petitions are filed. If it is something that there was active litigation prior to campus go live, that might be a situation where you need a FROI UR. So you can just reach out to us if you're questioning whether it needs a 00 or a FROI UR. If it already has a jurisdiction claim number, that would be a FROI UR. So we'll just want to make sure that it is reported correctly. All right, next question. Is there any way to get the adjuster who is assigned to the claim file in our system to be automatically assigned to the claim when it is sent to campus via EDI? Right now, we have to go and scroll through hundreds of claims to find the ones that we need an adjuster assigned to. Is there an easier way? I can speak to that one. I know that is feedback that we've gotten. Right now, our system is not set up to work that way, but that is feedback that we've received from a number of people, so we do have that as a potential action item in the future. One thing that is a little bit easier is if you grant your adjusters global claim access, that gives them the ability to view any of the claims that are related to your organization. It wouldn't show up in their My Claims queue, but that at least gives them visibility and the ability to act on those claims if they're not assigned. Next question. How long does it usually take for us to receive the acknowledgement back? There are some that I have sent on December 3rd and still not received the acknowledgement back. Some that I sent on December 7th and I received them on December 8th.
I mean, yeah, usually you're within a 24-hour turnaround, depending on when we get them. So we process them, throughout the day as we get them. We do get large batches at night. We've noticed we have one vendor in particular that drops very large batches at night. And so those process, and depending on the size of those batches, sometimes they go out. You'll see them late at night. I don't know what your vendor processing is if they send them back to you. But so usually, I mean, you should see everything within 24 hours always. The ones on the third, that's something you'd want to reach out to the EDI team and to that EDI email and say you're missing an acknowledgement. Anything that's over a day, you should always reach out and say you're missing an acknowledgement, see where it is. We do have some things where we've seen acknowledgements come through, not acknowledgements, I apologize. Some files come through that are corrupted files. They're just malformed XML files, and so they can't process and they don't generate an acknowledgement. And on those, we need to manually go through and then communicate back with you. So we're working on a process for that right now, like what we had before. But until that's in place, everybody, if you see a missing acknowledgement, please send it to us. We know vendors are very good about sending us things where they're saying we're missing acknowledgements from this date or this date. But yeah, you as the trading partner can always email the EDI team and they will be able to track down where those acknowledgements are, or if they or if we did post.
And I went ahead and I put that EDI email in the chat, just for anybody who needs it for those acknowledgements or if you have any specific questions. The next one, there are a few different questions in this comment, so I'll take them one at a time. Melissa, you may be the best person to answer this one. How do I file an NOPLD number 2 where the employee missed work but was not authorized off until several days after the first day he missed? I tried to do an indemnity denied in part and not medical, but it would not accept that. The first date of last time was 11/27. The employee was not authorized off until 12/1 when he saw the doctor.
So a couple thoughts on that. I know, thinking back to my basic adjuster training days, I'll just throw out the reminder, of course, not knowing all the specifics of this claim, but a claim, time off does not need to be authorized by the doctor. So just keep that in mind. One of the examples we would always give is that if an employee is saying they're injured and, of course, like a lot of people try and fight through it, or maybe they don't see the doctor right away. And then 3 or 4 to 5 days later, they see the doctor and the doctor says, yes, this is definitely an injury. Did they get hurt the day they got hurt, or did they get hurt when they walked into the doctor's office? So kind of just that idea of it doesn't necessarily have to be approved by a doctor. Of course, that might factor into a denial situation. So again, not knowing all the details of this particular claim. But from that question, were they filing the partial denial, did they say? I'm trying to find it in the chat.
Nope, that's totally fine. I think it was, it does not say here whether it was a partial denial. So
Okay.
you just need a follow up on that one.
Sure, because there is the PD, the partial denial, where you can say, hey, we're accepting this claim, but we're not paying benefits right now, and here's why, and you'd be able to give us information and attachments or whatnot to go with that. So give that a try, and if that's not what they've done already, that's something they can do.
Looks like it was a partial denial. So
Yeah, I think Kristen, you may want to email the EDI team with that one and we can look into it. It could have something to do with your claim type code as well. So if we can look at the specific errors associated with it, we may be able to help a little bit more. And then the next one, can we make a change to campus to save when we change the display to 50 records rather than defaulting back to 10 every time the screen changes? That's great feedback. We'll take that into, we'll add that to our list of things to address. Third, in the My Disputes, I see other people's claims and disputes rather than just mine. So that may be related to the claims that you are assigned to. If you could just send us a screenshot of that, Kristen, or we might need to hop on a quick call. I think we can look into that one a little bit further and see exactly why you're seeing all those. All right, next question. If we have a claim that had no qualifying SHROI transactions when we did the FROI-UR, would we then, do we still need the SHROI-UR or the next appropriate transaction? So in that instance, if you do the FROI-UR and you haven't yet done your first action, you would just go ahead and do the next SHROI transaction. So your IP or your denial or something of that nature, you would not need to do the SHROI-UR unless you had a first action prior to campus going live. Next question. Where can we get a list of our jurisdiction claim numbers for legacy claims that are reported on paper? So I believe if you send a request to the EDI team, they can get you a list of those JCNs. I did go ahead and put email in there. If I did try to do a NOID upload and it didn't seem to work last week, are there directions for exactly how to file a NOID 3? And I see Melissa put that that quick reference guide for the discontinuance web form in the chat. So if anybody needs that, that is listed. All right, next one. I have quite a few cases where all EDI filings appear successful, but the claim is not in campus yet. Does it take a couple of days to upload, or why would this be? Tammy, if you could send just a few examples to us, that would be great, just so we can figure out exactly where those claims are landing. It could be that they're linking to, not linking to your group. All right, next one. No dates are printing on forms such as a full denial. I think we actually have something logged on that right now, but I'll look into that one a little bit further. How long are drafts saved? So drafts are going to be saved for 21 days. So if you go in and you make changes to it and then you resave it, that 21 days restarts. But if you just leave it in draft status, those would be deleted after 21 days. The next one, where do you upload a document? A document upload would be done on the claim details page. If you select the submit a filing button, it's up in the right-hand corner. You can select other filing, and then you can upload your document. All right, next one. If a SHROI-UR is showing in campus, but I am not able to click to view it like I am the FROI-UR, does it mean it has not yet been accepted? No, that's not the case. The reason that you're able to click on that FROI-UR is because it generates a document. Your SHROI-UR it does not generate a document. So that does not necessarily mean that it was not accepted. If you are seeing it in campus, Brad or Melissa, I may need your help with this one, but I believe that if you're seeing it in campus, it is an accepted filing. I don't believe that we show rejected filings on the external site.
Correct.
Okay.
With the exception, maybe just worth noting that if you're if there's a draft of anything that, you know, if you've saved a draft, especially on like a web form or different things, that of course hasn't been submitted yet. But otherwise, if something rejects, it's not going to be in your reported history.
Great, thanks, Melissa. I may need you to help with this one as well. Based on the email received this morning, how do we update the employee's address if we can not update it on the UR? Melissa, are you familiar with that email?
I know I received it and I have it right here in my folder. I'm trying to go back and find it to see some more of the details about it here.
Or Brad, is that something that you're familiar with?
Yeah, yeah, you go, Melissa. I mean, I was just gonna say, just as a technical design, we didn't have the UR forcing any of those data elements to do a replace, so it's not updating those addresses. And so, you know, and Melissa, you want to speak more into this? I was under the impression it would be an O2 situation after the UR came in.
That's exactly right. What I was going to say as well is that you would be doing what you'd be doing anyway in the future, or if you're ever making a change, you would file that O2 change to update the employee information. So if you're an e-form submitter, you'd go up and you would say, instead of submit to an existing claim, you'd say you want to amend an existing claim to get to the O2 options. Otherwise, EDI using a vendor direct connect, you would file that O2 change to update that employee's address.
Awesome, thank you. I have a new claim for an employee. I have a signed authorization from an employee to obtain all DLI files. How do I make that request? So that can be done through the authorization web form in Campus. Let me see here if I can really quickly show you all just an example of that. I need to get into my test environment, but it's relatively easy here. Bear with me just a second. I'm going to get into my test environment and I'll show you all exactly where to find that. So once you're logged into Campus, if you click the Submit a Filing button, click Access a Claim or Case, and then click Submit an Authorization. It will take you to this screen where you can go ahead and indicate that you are someone with authorization and that you have written consent from the employee. And then you can just indicate the claims that you're trying to gain access to in the located claim step. Our compliance staff then will take a look at that and they will either approve or reject that request just based on the information contained in the authorization. All right. Next question. Do we issue a suspension if doing what was NOID number 2? If so, what do we show we are paying TPD now? So in that instance, I think you're asking what would you do if you're changing benefits from TTD to PPD or TTD to TPD. In that instance, you would complete a change in benefits transaction or a CB. You would just show that you are going from 050, which is temp total, to 070, which is temp partial.
And if by chance you have already filed the suspension and just suspending those benefits, you could, I believe for sequencing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Angie, but jump right in with that reinstatement. So if you have already submitted the SX, and you could just file the reinstatement and show that it started that same day with the other benefit type.
Awesome, thanks, Melissa.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, next. Letter of representation has been received from an employee's attorney. How do we get that attorney added as a party on the campus claim so the attorney will be served EDI documents that are set to serve on an attorney? So that attorney would actually need to file a notice of appearance in campus. So would need to do action on their end. That would not necessarily serve them the EDI documents. They would be able to see them as part of the file, but you would still need to serve them outside of campus. Just with the nature of those documents, they are not served via campus. Next question, how do we request a copy of a DLI file? Is there an email address we can send it to? You would actually just complete that process that I just ran through with that request or that access authorization. If it is a file that you all should be a party to, you should be able to view it. So if you're having issues with that, just let us know. But otherwise, if it's something that you've got an authorization from the employee and it's not part of your claim file or it's not your claim file, you can submit that authorization request and we will review those and grant you access to that file. Okay, I've filed an IP and received acknowledgement form back. I filed a suspension and have not received an acknowledgement or form back. So Margaret, I'll have you go ahead and email our EDI team on that one. We can take a look and see why you haven't gotten that acknowledgement. We'll just need some additional information. So like the date sent, and we can research that. Will there be any updates to the EDI created state work comp forms, such as the NOBP or notice of payment, to include the adjuster's name on the form. The automated forms are a great time saver, but when we mail the forms to the employee, this information is no longer available as it was on the old forms. I believe we actually have that recorded. It should be putting the adjuster's name on there. Right now, it's putting your company name. So that is something that we do have listed. When entering an eFROI, the claim administrator primary address field is grayed out, so I can't complete it. Yet I'm not allowed to submit it without this information. Kathy, what entity are you part of? We can take a look at that. Your address may not be complete on our end.
And also something you can try is just a temporary workaround that we found in a call with a stakeholder. If you save that e-form as a draft and then go back into it, sometimes something triggers to allow you then to edit. I'm not sure if that is still the case. We still need to do what Angie is suggesting, but just as a temporary workaround, if you want to try and save it as a draft and then see if it still is either pulling in the correct information or allows you to update it.
Thanks, Alyssa. We have some old Minart claims that have been passed from carrier to carrier. We don't have a lot of information on these claims for URs. A lot of them are missing employer fee, and employers are out of business. There a way to get these to go through? These are from the 80s and 90s. So the employer fee would not be required on that for UR. So you should still be able to submit it without that. If it's something where we don't have an employer fee, or if you need an employer fee, you can always contact us and we can generate a mock fee for you. Just send us an email in those instances. And if there are other data elements that you're having issues with, just let us know and we can hopefully help you work around those. All right, Tammy. I emailed the EDI help desk and they sent back a screenshot of a group with a different ID number than mine. Why are there more than one group set up for my company as a TPA? We may need to look into that one further. There are some instances where there's been some duplicate groups. So that could be the situation with your group as well. Great. In reference to prior feedback, it was said that the SHROI UR is not needed if you haven't done your first action. I have instances where the SHROI IPEP was not accepted. The SHROI UR was completed and accepted, and then the SHROI EP was created to show full wage continuation, submitted on 12/4. This was rejected, indicating that a SHROI UR was needed. That is actually a known defect. I believe that there is a fix going out for that today. Brad, can you speak to that?
Yeah, there was a sequencing error that we had that was in those cases where for UR was present and for URs weren't needed, that it was triggering sequencing saying that you needed to have a SHROI UR in there. And we saw a lot of them yesterday, and unfortunately, we saw the instance of it yesterday. That's when somebody brought it to our attention, and we'll have it fixed either tonight or tomorrow. I'll put out a communication on that, but that is the case. You're correct in what you're doing. We tried to fix a problem we were seeing with people trying to go around the SHROI UR. And by doing that, it caused the other SHROIs to fail. So we're not going to be having that. And that's why I'm just saying So in your instance, yes, you are correct. We will be fixing that. But if people, just so you know, if you're submitting a SHROI MTC after a SHROI UR and you already have submitted, the first action prior, you're going to have to do a sync up and you're going to have to contact the EDI team to do it.
Thanks, Brad. Next one. I am doing a CB to change TTD to TPD, but getting an error on a permanent C body part. The claimant is not done treating yet, and I don't have PPD yet. That is actually a known issue that we have with e-form submitters specifically. I believe that that is set to go out in our fix this week as well. Next one, the FROI IP and suspension have all been filed with a typo on the employee's name. What do I file to get that typo fixed? In that situation, you would just file a FROI 02 on the employee's name, and that should take care of it. If we file a FROI and it rejects, can you see those transactions, and will we be penalized if the transaction has not been accepted? Melissa, I'm gonna have you field that one if you don't mind.
Sure. So a transaction, including the FROI, needs to actually be accepted with us to be considered filed. In some ways, it's much like, the old fax machine, for example. If the fax didn't go through and we didn't get it, then we didn't get it. If there's an EDI error, if there's edits that it does not pass and we don't get it, then it's not considered received. I will state, however, right now that, and I know we've put out a couple communications when it comes to like penalties and stuff to impress the idea that our focus really, for one thing, if there's technical issues with campus, of course, we're going to take that into consideration. We know that, as we've talked about here, there are fixes coming out and we continue to get information from you guys. So we are well aware of that, and that is definitely part of our consideration. And that our focus really is on ensuring that the employee is being paid timely, accurately, and that if there's a denial, that those are filed or those are served timely on the employee. So if you're doing your work in those cases, that's really what we're focusing on. So while I do not have the authority at my level to say we're not doing penalties, I am saying that that is not our focus right now. But long term, I do want to impress the information that really it needs to be accepted with us to be with us. We can see transactions that reject, but it's not considered filed.
Thank you, Melissa. Great, next question. If a FROI 00 is accepted by the jurisdiction and then a FROI 04 denial is submitted and accepted, and we need to change the date of injury, is it correct that we need to file a FROI 02 to change the date of injury? And if so, do we need to file another FROI 04 since the date of injury was changed after the previously accepted FROI 04? Melissa, could you field that one as well?
Yeah, yes, and Brad, jump in, but I'm pretty sure that your first question, yes, it would be the FROI 02 to change that date of injury. We would not expect another FROI 04. We do not need another denial. We would update the claim when a change comes in and we update that date of injury. We would update that claim, and you do not need to go back and refile all the previous filings.
That is correct.
Great, thank you. Can you please add the steps again in the chat for DLI, requesting DLI files with an authorization? I'll just go ahead and run through that, and I can actually create a quick reference video and get that up on the website for those of you who may need that information. So all that you would need to do is, if you log in, you'll click on Submit a Filing, access a claim or case, select Submit an Authorization, click Next. You would just need to fill out this claim access authorization and continue through the steps. I do believe that we have this listed in our quick reference guide as well, but I can verify that, and I will be sure to put up a quick reference video for how to get to that information as well. All right. On an old claim, the NOPLD and NOID were already filed. I filed the UR in campus and then uploaded an MMI service letter with the healthcare provider report of 0% PPD. Am I done, or are there any other filings I need to do? Melissa, I'm actually going to have you field that one as well, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yep. If you've already discontinued all benefits and now you're showing that there's no PPD to be paid, and I will always state that, of course, there might be some compliance review, and if we need something on our end, we would write to you and let you know. So there's always that possibility. However, otherwise, if you're done, you can file the FN, the final, which indicates to us that you are done with the claim and can let us know that we can review and close ours as well if appropriate.
Great, thank you, Melissa. If we are trying to file an via EDI a CB to change from TTD to TPD, do we have to wait until we actually issue the first TPD payment? Otherwise, where do you indicate via EDI that you are changing to TPD? I don't believe you need to have I don't know if that you would need to have your actual TPD issue date. I don't believe that the benefit payment issue date is required on the CBs. Melissa, is that something you're familiar with, or is John available or on the call that may have more detailed information on that one?
Don't know if John is on, and I'm trying to really quick find that data element to see, but I will say if it's something you haven't paid yet, so it's not like a quick switch, you haven't switched yet to temp partial, you're perhaps waiting on wage loss verification, you can suspend those benefits and then do the reinstatement later at the appropriate time. And we will see that happen because sometimes it might be a few weeks even before you get wage loss benefits, wage loss verification, so you can make that temp partial payment. And so that's kind of the other side that you can use in those situations when it's not the immediate switch to paying temp partial.
Thank you, Melissa. All right, Brad, this one is for you. Just related to the for you are you saying that for any claim where we previously filed or did any type of payment, we have to file the for you are and then reach out to you for how to do the sync up? There could be quite a few of these, so want to understand if you are saying that this is the process for all legacy claims that had a prior payment.
No, you do the STROI UR in that case. I'm just saying that, so the system will allow you to send in a STROI transaction after a for UR, even though it might be out of sequence. If that happens, there's no way for you to fix that other than. So the proper procedure is for UR, STROI UR, then next transaction.
Great, thanks, Brad. All right, so the last form I filed was a notice of benefit reinstatement, the TTD changed to TPD on legacy. I've since issued PPD. What forms do I need to file now? So in that instance, if the last thing that you filed was a notice of benefit reinstatement, you would need to do your SURE URs. So you need to do your FROI and SURE URs. If you've reported all of those benefit types, so that TTD and that TPD, you could then file a PY for your PPD if it's a lump sum. Otherwise, you would want to file either a change in benefit type or reinstatement, depending on if the employee had returned to work or if you were still paying your previous indemnity benefits. And then you'd also want to complete the PPD web form. That's where you're going to have kind of that supplemental information, like the rule that goes along with your PPD payment, and just some additional information. You can also upload the medical information with that one. So you would need to file in that one your PPD web form, and then either a reinstatement, change in benefit type, or a PY. All right, next one. The process for requesting access to all DLI claims for an employee with an authorization doesn't allow for access to all claims, only a particular date of injury. If I know all of the date of injuries, how do I request access to all claims on the file with DLI for an employee? Melissa, I'm going to have you speak to that one. I don't know if compliance is using an any and all approach or if they would need to file for every date of injury.
Yeah, and Brad, I might need you to step in as well since this isn't my particular area and I'm not sure if you would know, but I do know that it did require the specific dates of injury. And so, Brad, do you know if there was any workaround that was?
Well, there was something being proposed by both ADR and CRT around this about how to do this. So in the case where you know them all, you could just file into each one of them and be appropriate. If you don't know them all, which is what we've run into more often than not, there was a communication I believe supposed to be sent or was sent out on that. I can do some research real quick and see if that went out. There was the agency sent out things about those. I just don't know where that went to.
All right, so we'll do some follow-up on that one. For claims for the second injury fund reimbursement forms, do we need to file just the FRO UR to get these older claims listed in campus? Or do we also need to file a SHORE UR for the second injury fund if we are only paying medicals and all indemnity has been settled? I think you would want to do both the FROI and SHORE URs, just because you already had a SHROI action. So other than that, you probably wouldn't need to file anything else other than those second injury fund reimbursement web forms. Okay, if a claim is currently administratively open on the carrier's end due to ongoing medical, but all indemnity has previously been paid or settled, are there ongoing EDI reporting requirements? So Melissa, feel free to jump in on this one, but my understanding is no, you wouldn't have additional reporting requirements if all you're paying is medical.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Second question, for a legacy claim, all claim reporting was completed prior to the transition to R31, with the exception of the issuance of the settlement payment. What is expected for release 3.1 EDI reporting once the settlement order is received and the payment is issued? So in that instance, you'd want to file both your FROI and SHORE URs, and then you would want to file a PY to show that actual payment of the settlement. Next one, we were seeing a lot of rejections on our UR filings indicating that there was no legacy claim. However, there was one. This is a known defect. Has this been resolved? Brad, I am going to have you answer that one.
What was the rejection cause on these?
I believe that it was saying that there was no claim in legacy. I believe this is the claim, this might be the claim admin claim number one, the issue with claim admin claim numbers.
Yeah, we should have that fix in place, where we are going to go manually update those claim admin claim numbers. We're just waiting on one key, one final piece to that. So what the process will be, and again, we have to send out written communication on this, is anything that was submitted, we will change them in the system, and then you'll be able to resubmit them. But going forward, you'll have to reach out to CRT to change those numbers. So the piece that we're working on is the ability for CRT to update those claim admin claim numbers. So that's why it's not been pushed out yet, but we're waiting for all that to be done so we can get these all addressed.
Thanks, Brad. Melissa, I'm going to have you actually answer this one if you don't mind from a compliance standpoint. Could you please explain when a SHROI UR is needed after the FROI UR is accepted?
Sure. So I went ahead just now and added a comment as well with the link to our implementation guide and pointed out that page 13, because it's a 99-page document, so you don't need to read through the whole thing right now. But I'm hoping page 13 will be helpful to people when it comes to the URs. So the question of when the SHROI UR is required after the FROI UR has been received. So any claim that was submitted to us prior to campus, so we already had it, needs to have that FROI UR. And that is what tells us, hey, we had the claim before, and now we're linking that claim to you, your trading partner, to say this is a claim that we have brought over into campus and is linked to us. So the FROI UR is always going to happen. The SHROI UR is mostly also going to always happen on those same claims. There's just an exception we can talk about, but most of the time, because you already had submitted the claim to us and you've been working on the claim, you've been submitting payment information, benefits, maybe denials, that kind of sort of information. You would also do the SHROI UR, which is kind of the summary of what's happened so far in the claim. So if you've paid in the past, maybe the claim's been open for 10 years and has 3 different types of benefits that were paid. Maybe there's been temp total, temp partial, and perm partial. The SHROI UR is going to kind of give a summary of those payments, like, hey, look, or not payments, those benefits. Here's the lump sum that we've paid so far in total on temp total, for example. The exception of that would be if you had filed the claim with us prior to campus, but not filed the first action. So maybe we caught you right at the very end or beginning of that claim where you filed the FROI, but the 14 days to pay or deny hadn't happened yet. And so now on campus, you don't do the SHROI UR, you would just do your first action. So I think that number would be pretty small as far as how many claims would get the FROI UR and not the SHROI UR. But again, that link in page 13, I'm hoping will help as well.
Great, thanks, Melissa. All right, Brad, this one's for you. We have some claims with the FROI UR accepted and an attempted SHROI UR, but we got an error indicating that a prompt action was needed. So the SHROI IP was filed and accepted. Now we are getting an error indicating that the SHROI UR is needed. Are you saying we need to sync these up, or is the SHROI UR rejection a bug? If we need to sync up, what is the process for that?
So was this the case Melissa was just talking about, where you had filed a FROI in the old system and then your first action was actually done in campus?
No, I think that this was something that required, looks like it required a SHROI UR, but there was an error indicating that prompt action was needed. Then an IP was filed to make up that first action. And now they're getting an error saying that the SHROI UR is accepted or is required for further filings. So it sounds like maybe a sync up process is needed.
Could be, but I think we should look at this one in particular to see what happened.
Deb, can you send me that claim number and I can look at that one? Next, pre-campus, we would file a NOID box number 2 to all parties, notifying them that TTD was changed to TPD. Are you indicating that this is no longer required to be filed and we can notify DLI by sending a CB? That's correct. In that instance, you would file a change in benefits since you're going directly from TTD to TPD. All right. If we file a SHROI for denial, but since the number of characters that DLI will accept is limited, we also create an old paper version of the NOPLD denial to mail to the employee. We would like to upload the paper denial as well as the attachments to campus. How do we associate the complete denial and attachments to the DLI version of the SHROI 02, or could we simply upload it as other filing and supporting documentation to primary liability determination? Yes, you can just upload it as an other filing and supporting documentation to primary liability determination.
Yeah, and Manji, I may have missed that. Did they say they're trying to attach this to a SHROI 02 for a denial?
No, it sounds like they are filing a FROI or SHROI 04, and they just need to add additional documentation to the denial. Yep.
Yep, and there is also a way to do attachments via EDI. If you want to talk to your vendor or work with us, we can tell you how to do it.
Thanks, Brad. Please explain how to reopen a claim in campus. Our claim is open in our system, but showing closed in campus. Melissa, is that something that CRT has developed a process around, or do we just want them to contact us in those situations?
Yeah, if you guys can contact us, and right now, I don't know, Angie, that I saw another follow-up to that email, but if nothing else, contact the help desk and that can be sent to CRT, so we can work on opening those claims if that needs to happen. And then I do know there's the feedback already logged as far as the claim status goes, the open and closed status of the claim.
Great, thanks, Melissa. We have some legacy claims that don't appear to have ever had a FROI 00 submitted. Is there someone or a group at the state that we can reach out to verify the FROI 00 was previously submitted? Yes, so in those instances, you can contact the EDI team. I'll put that email in here again, and they can take a look. It may be a situation where you didn't file the FROI 00, but we may still have a jurisdiction claim number, which is that's the important part. So if a jurisdiction claim number exists, we can give you that information and we can confirm that you can submit it. All right. So right now I'm at the end of the questions in the chat, but I wanted to really quickly share our Campus Central page. Brad, do you want to talk about some of the updates that we've made to this to make it a little bit more user-friendly and give our stakeholders some additional information regarding our releases?
Yeah, so we actually have the commissioner's office involved right now to work on getting the site updated. We've had some requests to get out the release notes, and we have a little lag in our communication time because of the content generation, then the approvals. Obviously, state has an approval process to send out. So the Commissioner's Office is working on that to make sure that those are going out in a much faster timeline. Last week, we were trying to get something out on Friday. It didn't go Tuesday. And so we want to shrink that time, but also we want to get everything on the central page that's needed. So any newsletter and any link to anything that was sent out will be on this page. So this is going to continue to keep being revamped, but they know that this is now a top priority for the Commissioner's Office to get out those communications and also help us get out for this community. And so we will continue to do that, and we will put more emphasis on this campus central page.
Great, thanks, Brad. We got one more question. So just to clarify, if the file is old enough that it predates EDI, but a FROI was sent to DLI, do we still need to file a FROI 00? So in that instance, you would actually file your FROI UR. If it already has a jurisdiction claim number and there's a WID and date of injury all associated, you would not have needed to file the FROI 00. So you could just do a FROI UR on that one. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat. As far as subsequent answer hours, I apologize, I haven't had time to get those invitations out yet, but we will be continuing these answer hours. We'll also have an answer hour next week specific to EDI filers and another specific for e-form filers. So keep an eye out for all of those as well. Brad or Melissa, anything else to add?
No, I think we've covered everything. I appreciate everybody's participation, and like I said, we will have release on Thursday. As I think is that tomorrow. Release goes Thursday night, and then we'll get those release notes out in a more timely fashion so everybody can see them. I know John's also working with some external communities to make sure they get out there so that those release notes are there and we can better communicate with everybody. So we appreciate your time and your giving us feedback on this. We know it's been a long process, and EDI and the insurance industry is very complicated. So we want to make sure we get it right. So we appreciate this, and that's all I want to say. So with that, Melissa, you have anything?
I do not. Thanks everyone though for participating and giving us this feedback.
Yes, thank you everybody so much. With that, I'll go ahead and end a few minutes early today. But if there are any other questions, issues, please continue letting us know either via email, and we'll send out the invites for our answer hours next week shortly. Thank you, everybody.